Thorntons.
Well, there was definite problems with our family right from the very beginning. There was, now I think about it now, a dysfunctional family.
Thorntons, chocolate heaven since 1911.
The first transatlantic chocolate encounter occurred in 1519, when Hernán Cortés visited the court of Montezuma at Tenochtitlan. The king had 50 jugs of the drink brought out and poured into golden cups. When the colonists returned with shipments of the strange new bean, missionaries' salacious accounts of native customs gave it a reputation as an aphrodisiac. Eating it with honey, sugar, or vanilla quickly made chocolate a popular. The world of chocolate would change forever in 1828 with the introduction of the cocoa press. Van Houten's invention could separate the cocoa's natural fat, or cocoa butter. This left a powder that could be mixed into a drinkable solution or recombined with the cocoa butter to create the solid chocolate we know today. Not long after, a Swiss chocolatier named Daniel Peter added powdered milk to the mix.
Put them together and what have you got? Bibbidi-bobbidi-boo. Salagadoola, menchikaboola, bibbidi-bobbidi-boo. It'll do magic, believe it or not. Bibbidi-bobbidi-boo. Now salagadoola mean a menchikaboola-roo. But the thingamabob that does the job is bibbidi-bobbidi-boo.
Oh, salagadoola, menchikaboola, bibbidi-bobbidi-boo. Put them together and what have you got? Bibbidi-bobbidi-boo, bibbidi-bobbidi-boo, bibbidi-bobbidi-boo.
Welcome to Thorntons.
Well, there was definite problems with our family right from the very beginning. There was, now I think about it now, a dysfunctional family.
Thorntons, chocolate heaven since 1911.
My siblings were, indeed all of us, were probably not very mature people, owing to the family environment.
There's an art to making people feel good.
There you go, Frankie.
Thorntons, the art of the chocolatier.
So we were brought together without sufficient thought as to who was going to do what, without sufficient outside training.
Stanley Thornton's special toffee recipe, first developed in 1925, the Continental range developed by Walter Willen in 1954, from toffee to continental, classic, moments and dessert gallery.
A confectionery empire, but Peter Thornton left, kicked out of the company in 1987. Family feud.
I just disappeared from the scene. A great deal of conflict. The senior members of the business, my father and my uncle, were not directing us at all. They were not trying to solve the leadership problem, the succession problem at all. We had to fight it out between ourselves.
For a man who devoted his life to the business his grandfather started.
It was completely devastating, and it...
And the reason why chocolate production left the town of Belper in Derbyshire forever. Peter was born into the chocolate and confectionery empire Thorntons. It was started in Sheffield in 1911 by his grandfather Joseph Thornton. It's one of the UK's oldest chocolate retailers. Peter's father Norman and uncle Stanley moved production to a factory at Belper in Derbyshire in 1948. It's still here today, but derelict. It's where Peter started his career, in the boiled sweet department in the summer of 1953. Peter says it was his idea that Thorntons should start making Swiss chocolates, and a year after Peter joined the company, they took his idea seriously. They recruited a Swiss chocolatier called Walter Willen. By 1982, production at the Belper factory had reached full capacity. The answer lay 10 miles away at Alfreton. Thorntons bought some land there and built a new factory. It was opened by the Queen in 1985. Years later, Belper closed.
I was responsible for getting it built. I personally never wanted it to be abandoned and closed down. But I was involved in the original decision about building a new factory at Alfreton, and I was the only one on the board who objected to it. And I objected very strongly, but it was 4-1, and so I lost.
Peter's objection increased the already unbearable tensions between other family members in the company. His brothers Tony and John were also employed, as was his cousin Michael. But there was rivalry between them.
There were too many of us in the business, and too many different personalities. You know, we were not really a very coherent family, and family businesses, to be successful, first of all, really need to have a very cohesive family in the background.
By 1986, the company needed to raise more investment. The board decided to issue shares in Thorntons for the first time in its history. Peter claims just before this happened, he was forced out and paid a £4 million leaving package.
Here one day and gone the next.
The family business was then transformed into a public listed company owned by shareholders. Things would never be the same again.
I think I just a great desire to solve problems, to not put up with things working badly, to hate waste and inefficiency, and just be driven to find a solution. I suppose I'm a highly motivated person, really. I don't quite know why. It comes from my background somewhere. There was definite problems with our family right from the very beginning. There was, now I think about it now, a dysfunctional family. My siblings were, indeed all of us, were probably not very mature people, owing to the family environment. So we were brought together without sufficient thought as to who was going to do what, without sufficient outside training. So the result was a great deal of conflict. The senior members of the business, my father and my uncle, were not directing us at all. They were not trying to solve the leadership problem, the succession problem at all. We had to fight it out between ourselves. Started, first of all, at our factory in Sheffield, a small factory where I managed a department, and there it was just inherent as far as I was concerned. It was always obvious that happy people would achieve much more than unhappy people. People working as a team together would be far more productive. When I got into the position of managing the factory in Belper, we were in a very different employment environment. The unemployment in the town was extremely low. We couldn't pay as high wages as anybody else. Wages which were lower than the competitive wages. So I thought the only way to keep people was to make sure they had a very nice time, and definitely tried to improve the whole conditions of work so that people were very happy. Value is to respect your people, you know, from the shop floor cleaner to the top manager, to respect them, to get to know them, and to see their potential value. I always believe that most people could achieve far more, and that certainly, all those things, and proper representation means to manage the workforce so that there was seen to be fairness. We set up a representative council to represent everybody in the business, partly because I was scared stiff of being unionised. There was a lot of conflicts in the industry, a lot of strikes. But it was anyway a very good thing to set up an excellent representative system. I think I would say go out on the shop floor and go and talk to people and find out what their problems are. Tell them about the business and directly, personally. Listen to their comments and incorporate their comments when you can, when they're constructive. But just get involved with the workforce.
The family business was transformed into a public listed company owned by shareholders.